murder investigations from the case files of Lieutenant Joe Kenda. First, police square off against a homicidal madman.
You have to take someone at their word when they make threats.
This was a very volatile situation.
And the prospect of bloodshed grows by the minute.
So now we're in a total standoff.
Sergeant Kemp, Sergeant Velez.
If he starts shooting at us, we're going to return fire.
I'll take the shot, nobody else.
Anticipation is the biggest feeling that I can remember having.
Put your hands in the air, Larry. Do it now.
Then, violence erupts on the floor of a local factory.
Holy, there's blood just everywhere.
Why would that happen? They need to find that out. In the state of Colorado, to commit a crime, you must engage in willful and knowing conduct. Willful and knowing are just two words. As is always the case, the devil is often in the details. There's one thing that never changes: murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
It's an ordinary Thursday evening, and Clark Coopins is driving home to the trailer park where he lives. But when Clark pulls up to his trailer, he hears his neighbor raving mad, and he wonders what's going on. So he rushes inside to his wife.
What the hell is going on with Larry?
He's been over there for over an hour, just acting like a madman. I don't know what's going on.
Oh no. This is not good.
He sees Larry there with two guns in his hands.
Should we do something?
Not 4 miles away, Sergeant Joe Kenda is wrapping up his shift with some paperwork.
All right, you got the report for me?
Yes, sir. Here you go.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
I was a patrol sergeant in March of 1984. On this particular evening, I was in police headquarters reviewing my officers' reports.
Hey, Sarge. Got a woman out front. You probably need to come talk to her.
All right, just give me a few minutes.
Yeah, she's pretty worked up.
Okay, then.
So I immediately went out to the front lobby.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I ask what's wrong?
And I meet this woman. She says her name is Pam Olson, and she's very agitated.
My husband, Larry. He's threatening to kill himself.
She says that she no longer lives with her husband, and that he called her to tell her that he had 2 loaded handguns, and he intended to kill himself, and he would kill anyone, particularly the police, who attempt to intervene.
This isn't the first time this happened. But now, I really think he's gonna do it.
Where's he now?
At his trailer on North Cascade.
Is he alone?
Does he have hostages? Is there somebody in this house with him that he's holding at gunpoint?
As far as I know, he's alone. I mean, it's just really just him and the cat.
You might step back here, we can talk in private.
We need to continue to talk to her to learn more about Larry's personality. Why does he get so agitated? What are his problems?
As Kenda continues to speak with Pam Olson, officers rush to the trailer park in hopes of defusing the situation.
One of the officers was walking up to the trailer when Mr. Olson came out and confronted him.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
In his right hand is a long-barreled .44 Magnum revolver. In his left hand is a .357 Magnum pistol. These weapons are extremely powerful. They are made for one purpose: to kill another human being.
Hands in the air! Larry, put the guns down.
I ain't putting them. Someone takes care of me.
I right? You let us know.
You get me SWAT. I'm gonna tell you SWAT. I'll be right here waiting for him.
That's a really unusual request. What is he up to?
We're gonna need TEU out here.
TEU stands for the Tactical Enforcement Unit. It is the Colorado Springs Police Department SWAT team.
Back at headquarters, Kenda continues to speak with Larry Olson's wife, Pam.
And if we can get to the reason why he's so distressed, that may give us an avenue of pursuit on how to calm him down.
I mean, you can tell me everything you can about Larry. His background, relationships, anything.
Pam reports that she's been married to Larry for the past 10 years and they have 2 small children together. The relationship was good for a while, but things eventually began to unravel, especially after he lost his job as a plumber.
Oh, he's been depressed for so long now. And he's an alcoholic. That's one reason I kicked him out of the house.
How long ago was that?
Well, we've been separated for about a year now. He straightened out for a while, but I knew it wouldn't last.
So do you think he relapsed?
When he called me today, he was slurring his words.
Then the opinion of his estranged wife was drunk. But that's an advantage to us.
Excuse me for a second. I need to pass on some of that information to the officers at Larry's house. Sergeant Kent, Sergeant Velez.
If he sobers up, he may be more reasonable than he would be when he's intoxicated.
Hostage negotiator Sergeant Louis Velez has arrived on scene and sets up operations inside a trailer next door to Larry Olson's.
Roger that. Thanks, Kenda.
So what's the plan?
I want you guys to stand guard, just in case he comes out and tries to hurt someone.
Okay.
In the meantime, I'm gonna call Larry on the phone, try to get him to talk as long as possible.
It is my job to try to take the individual from that highly emotional state and get him or her to a position of talking rationally. Anticipation is the biggest feeling that I can remember having. I tried about 4 times to contact Mr. Olson when I first got there, and I couldn't get a hold of him.
Guess we'll try again in a bit.
Less than 30 minutes later, the Tactical Enforcement Unit arrives.
Hey, Luke.
How you doing, Cecil? Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir.
Right this way.
Velez brings TEU Sergeant Cecil Hutchison up to speed.
So what's this guy's name?
Larry Olson.
Larry Olson. Seriously?
Why, you know?
Hutchison says we've dealt with this guy twice before when he's done precisely the same thing.
First time about 4 years ago, he had a house over on Zion Street. Lived with his wife and his kids. Same deal. Hey, Larry, can you come outside so we can talk?
Hutchison explains that he'd been firing shots at his house and threatening to kill himself. TEU was summoned. They surrounded the property.
Hey, Larry, why don't you come on outside and we can talk about it?
I'll come out and talk, but I want to do it on camera. I want to be on the news so everybody can see.
That's something that we certainly wanted to avoid, but we did realize we could use this opportunity.
Hey, before we do this, you guys want a beer?
Yeah, actually, we love one. That'd be great.
Police were able to go down the street where they'd cordoned off the media and grab a camera and actually pretend that they were a news crew.
Hey, yeah. Thanks. Thank you very much.
And that gives police the opportunity to really overcome him.
2 other TEU officers take him down.
This is bull. Let me go. I didn't do anything. Go. Let me go.
He was extremely upset about the rouge that we used, and I believe that he was very hostile towards SWAT because of that previous situation.
So there was a second incident with this guy?
Yeah, second time more of the same.
Try that again!
Olson has a violent confrontation with his wife and throws her and the children out of the house. And TU is summoned once again.
This ain't happening, Pigs! This ain't happening!
And that guy's quitting. Yeah, you can say I'm familiar with Larry Olson. He can be really violent. So you better be careful on this one.
Honestly, I don't like the fact that he requested you guys to come down to the scene.
Yeah, me neither. He's never done that before.
You have to take someone at their word when they make threats. He said 16 months ago he was going to get even with SWAT. Well, this evening he has a chance to do precisely that. We're going to have to believe it. The police department is dealing with a 42-year-old man who is barricaded in his house, announcing he's going to kill everybody. TU is on scene and is trying to make contact with Olson and negotiate his surrender. I am in contact with Pam Olson, the estranged wife of this person, to try to understand the depth of the reason why he's behaving the way he is.
So why do you think Larry wants to kill himself?
Well, he's been in a bad way for some time now.
She said that he was married once before and he lost his first wife and his first child in an automobile accident in Minnesota 14 years ago. And he never really emotionally recovered from that.
Sometimes the sadness overwhelms him. He even started writing poems to get the feelings out, but it didn't help much. The whole time I've known him, he's really struggled.
Now, you mentioned you had 2 similar incidents with police.
Yeah, but he was never charged for anything.
The judge thought he required mental health counseling and prescription for antidepressants. And she said on both of those occasions, they did help for a while, but only for a while. And now here we are again.
But why today? Can you think of anything that might have pushed him over the edge?
There was something.
She reluctantly said, I filed for divorce a few months ago, and the divorce became final today. Well, that certainly is a very powerful motivator to someone with a history of depression.
I feel terrible.
This isn't your fault.
With the situation at the trailer park still unstable, TEU moves into position.
You're replacing patrol officers with tactical enforcement unit officers because they are A, well-trained, B, protected by full body armor, and C, very heavily armed.
Although you have a number of high-powered weapons and equipment, and your job really is to prevent violence if that's possible and save lives.
But if this generates into a gun battle, they're going to end this. And they're going to do it very quickly.
With the area now secure, TEU officer David Moore hopes to help Sergeant Velez talk some sense into Larry Olson.
This was a very volatile situation.
You want to try calling him again?
Yeah, he asked for SWAT, and we gave him SWAT. So maybe he'll talk now.
So they try the number again, and
What?
lo and behold, Olson answers.
Listen, we want to help you, but I need to ask you something first. Are you alone? Is anyone there with you?
Yeah, PJ's here.
PJ? Who's PJ?
That's my cat.
He's scared.
So Velez tries to get personal with him. So Larry, what are you doing?
I'm done, man. I got a needle and some potassium chloride here. Potassium chloride in a number of states is utilized in capital punishment to have an inmate put to death. He can inject himself to kill himself.
Larry, why do you want to hurt yourself?
My life's a mess. I lost my first wife and kid, and today my woman said she don't love me no more. I can't go through that again.
He was slurring his speech a little bit. I wasn't sure whether he had taken alcohol or drugs or both, for that matter.
Larry, I'm not going back to the Lenny bin again. Done with all that. Everything, okay? We'll take you SWAT out. I told you this ain't over.
Now, we were already aware that he made threats against Team 2, but now he's making a direct threat. He's refusing to maintain contact. We have no ability to reduce his anxiety. So now we're in a total standoff. What's going to happen next is determined by what he does next.
You're not going to trick me this time, PJ.
Over the next hour, things remain eerily quiet.
Are we going to hear a gunshot inside the trailer, or is he going to shoot us? It's very tense for everybody.
I told my guys if this crazy comes back outside again and acts like he's going to do anything, I'll take the shot, nobody else.
Got it.
Hey, Moore,
Sir.
if I miss or he takes me out, I'm going to need you to take it.
Yes, sir.
And that was the best location that we could find ourselves in, where we could protect the officers who were on containment, should we have to make a decision to actually utilize deadly force.
So we're 3 hours into this situation, agonizing about what's going to happen next. When Olsen suddenly comes out the front door of his trailer.
Hands in the air, Larry. Freeze, Larry. Hands in the air. Hands in the air, Larry. Do it now.
He comes down the steps and advances further into the street than he ever has in the past.
Put your hands in the air, Larry. Do it now.
Because of Hutchinson's proximity, he can see that Olsen has a large, long-barreled handgun in his waistband.
Don't do it, Larry. Hands in the air, now!
At that point, he was looking in our direction, and you could see the eye contact with Mr. Olsen and Sergeant Hudson. He was reaching for his gun. This was an immediate threat to us.
We're in a gun confrontation here with this individual, and it's time to end it. Larry Olsen has been announcing he's going to kill himself and members of the TU team, and now after hours of this, he stumbles out of his trailer, seeming intent on action.
Don't do this, Larry.
Mr. Olsen starts reaching for the 44 that is in the front of his body.
When he does that, he is making a direct threat against Sergeant Hutchison and any other officer he meets.
And that's when a decision was made by the sergeant to fire his weapon.
Damn it, one down.
One down.
I'll mark off the scene.
Start CPR. Don't hurry. First responder, quick as possible. Step it up.
At that point, we went immediately to Mr. Olsen, and I grabbed one weapon.
Loaded.
Sergeant Hutchinson grabbed the other.
Yeah, so is this one.
Medical was on call. They were just simply a half a block away. They responded quickly. He was shortly thereafter pronounced deceased.
The first thing that went through my mind was sadness because I wasn't able to get him out safely. This is not the kind of ending that anybody wanted.
The following morning, the district attorney's office begins an investigation, assisted by Detective John Anderson of the CSPD Homicide Unit.
Whenever a police officer shoots a person, in this case kills him, we need to determine if this case was a justifiable homicide. He had been shot once with a shotgun and really caused some devastating entry wounds.
I don't smell any alcohol.
There is a great deal of blood of Mr. Olson on his person, and human blood always carries the odor of alcohol with it, so whatever is causing him to stumble isn't alcohol.
Later that afternoon, investigators get their first look inside Larry's trailer.
Larry Olson was armed with 2 handguns. In the residence, we find 2 other firearms. One was a .44 Magnum. The other one was a .22 Magnum Derringer.
This guy wasn't messing around. Potassium chloride.
Also, there's 2 bottles of potassium chloride, a rubber tourniquet, and a syringe.
He said he had that stuff, and he did. He had guns, he had bullets, he had poison chemicals. He didn't use it. He wanted the police to do it for him.
In the bathroom, investigators discover what caused Larry to seem so intoxicated.
We did find a nearly empty bottle of prescription medication of barbiturates. An overdose circumstance would produce the same sorts of behavior as drunkenness from alcohol, the staggering and the slurred speech.
Also in the residence, we find photographs of his first family as well as his second family and a suicide note. That note basically was to his wife, and that he did plan on harming himself, and that he couldn't do anything right. It was very short and succinct.
It sounded like Larry was so depressed that he was immobilized, and he couldn't say anything that felt it had any real meaning to him or anybody else. He just wanted to die.
But perhaps it's what investigators find next that provides a deeper motive for Larry's desperate actions.
We found a book that was authored by Larry Olson. Looked like it was more of a self-published book. And what got my attention was about the author, which was inside the flap.
He's talking about how his family died in a car accident in Minnesota. Kind of strange to put in a little blurb on a book jacket. I know. I'm gonna look into this.
So the police in Minnesota confirmed to Detective Anderson that the original Mrs. Olson and a small child were killed in an automobile accident. However, it was also determined that Larry Olson was the driver of the car and he was drunk. He killed his wife and his first child in a DUI single-car accident. So, Mr. Olson was not suffering from sadness. He was suffering from guilt.
He was sentenced to 2 years in prison for it, but basically, he was in prison for the rest of his life, in his mind and in his heart.
So, we can't really say what motivated Larry Olson to do what he did, but we can make an educated guess. That morning, Larry gets notice of the final end of his marriage, and he's popping pills. He's waxing philosophic about his life. He's writing a suicide note saying how he wants it all to end. Then Larry gets his potassium chloride and a syringe, but he doesn't really have the nerve to do it that way. He has his guns and they're loaded and ready to rock, but he really can't do that either. So what's he do next? He calls his ex-wife, says, "I'm going to kill myself," and that causes her to come to the police. So the police arrive and Larry pops a few more pills and walks outside and reaches for that gun, knowing it's the last thing he'll ever do. And it was.
In this case, it was determined that the death of Larry Olson was a justifiable homicide.
Later that day, Kenda offers his condolences to Larry's family.
I'm very sorry, Pam. You know, our officers found Larry's cat. We'd be happy to put him up for adoption.
Oh, we'll take him. He's our family pet. He went with Larry when we broke up because he was the one thing that cheered Larry up.
She says, no, I'm gonna take that cat. You know, it's a little part of Larry. I'm gonna take it with me, take it home.
Thank you. Hey! There's PJ. He missed you. Hey! He missed you.
Mr. Olson, for whatever twisted reason or series of sin, concluded that he wanted to end his life. I would often say to families who lost a family member through suicide, there is no reason in the unreasonable. You can't explain that, ever.
Coming up, a vicious attack inside a workplace bathroom catapults Kenda into one of the most difficult cases of his career.
This case is very murky because of the circumstances of the people involved. This represents an insurmountable challenge.
Alan Brick arrives at work at this little manufacturing company, and he's just getting ready to start into his normal routine.
Good morning. Good morning.
Alan, something happened in the men's restroom. You have to go. Just go. Hurry.
When all of a sudden, Alan's day took a very different turn. He sees somebody laying on the floor and blood just everywhere.
Rowan, what happened, buddy?
And it's one of his workers.
Buddy, hold on. Let me grab some help. Hold on.
Within the hour, Sergeant Joe Kenda arrives outside Pioneer Industrial Enterprises and meets with Detective David Moore.
Morning, Joe.
In 1988, I was assigned to the Homicide Unit, working under the leadership of Sergeant Joe Kenda.
Hey, Dave. What do we got?
He explained to me that a 29-year-old employee named Rowan Monteith was discovered with severe head trauma and that he has been removed to a hospital and he is unresponsive.
We're still gathering information, but it's likely Mr. Monteith was a person with some sort of disability. How do we know that? Well, found out a little information about this factory.
It was what was called a sheltered workshop. They were created to help people with a number of developmental disabilities, both physical and intellectual.
Did anybody see what happened in the bathroom? Patrol is still looking for witnesses. Right now, we've just got the guy who found the victim. All right, see what he has to say.
Kenda and Moore meet with Alan Brick, a supervisor at Pioneer Industrial Enterprises.
Is Rowan going to be all right? No, we don't know that yet. But he does have some serious injuries. He's such a nice guy.
Rowan Monteith, as described by everybody who knew him, was very sweet, very easy to get along with. One of the joys of his life was Special Olympics. It was something that he really liked. He was really, really proud of.
Do you know what happened? I'm thinking he had a seizure.
Seizures are not uncommon with people with developmental disabilities, and we also see them particularly in people with Down syndrome.
He probably hit his head on the way down. That's probably why there's all the blood. You want to take us there? Yeah.
The human skull is covered in flesh, but it's very thin, just above the bone. And head wounds tend to bleed profusely. So is that possible? Yes.
The key to learning what really happened to Rowan Monteith lies in the blood evidence.
We heard about all of the blood that was in the bathroom, and then we looked, and it's not there.
Somebody clean this up? We thought it would be best.
Oh, my. Please don't destroy my evidence.
Take a look at this.
Fortunately, as we look further, we do see some blood spatter, where apparently the janitor had missed certain spots of blood.
When humans bleed, the force of gravity drops blood to the floor. So if he hurts his head on a sink, any blood that comes from that wound is going to go straight down.
Looks like it's going on right now. Sure does.
That's blunt force trauma bleeding.
The minimal blood evidence doesn't quite jibe with the seizure theory, nor does what Kenda spots next.
Looks like his forehead hit the mirror here. Then he put his left hand out.
Mr. Monteith is perhaps breaking his fall. Maybe he didn't hit his head. Maybe somebody else did.
I hate to tell you this, Alan, but this wasn't Rowan having a seizure. He must have gotten into a fight.
Rowan? That's hard to believe. He's not the type of guy.
I said, well, it's true. Ron didn't do this to himself, and the sink didn't do it to him either. We need a human that did it to him.
How'd you discover what happened in here?
It was one of our supervisors, Tony Patterson.
Oh, what did they say happened?
She didn't. She had a class she had to get to.
Can you take us to it?
Yeah, sure.
We meet Tony Patterson. She is a life enrichment teacher at this facility. She's very, very distressed by what she's seeing.
It was awful.
Listen, we're gonna need your help on this. Just tell us how you knew something happened in the bathroom.
All right. Right before class started, one of my students had a nosebleed. So I ran to the women's restroom to get a few tissues.
There's a wall that separates the ladies' room from the men's room. And she hears this noise that doesn't sound right at all. It alarms her.
She became so concerned that she actually went into the men's room.
She sees a man kicking another man repeatedly in the face, as hard as he can kick, in her words. And he looks at her and then looks down at the victim and continues to kick him in the face. She can't even believe that this is happening, but it's happening.
I didn't know what to do, so I just ran to get help.
You know who was kicking Rowan?
I didn't recognize him, no.
What do you look like?
She describes this individual as thin, tall, maybe 6 foot tall, blonde hair, late 20s.
I know he wasn't one of the supervisors here. It's only 9 of us, so we all know each other. But we do have 140 employees in this facility, so it must have been one of them.
You should talk to Jane.
Jane?
She oversees all of us. She pretty much knows everyone here.
Thank you. We believe the attacker is blonde and tall, and he possibly knows Rowan.
We ended up speaking with the supervisor of the facility, Miss Jane Champion. She was extremely helpful.
The description sounds like Michael Zerlinga. He used to be Rowan's roommate.
Is there any bad blood between them?
Not that I'm aware of. They were roommates for 2 years, and they got along just fine.
Well, that's kind of odd that someone would live with someone for 2 years without an issue, and all of a sudden be literally kicking him to death in the men's room. Why would that happen? We need to find that out. We go to this facility. We discover Rowan Monteith has been severely injured in the men's room. It's not an accident. And we believe we know who probably is responsible. Michael Zerlinka.
He's actually a good worker, but like most people here, he has challenges.
She says that Mr. Zerlinka is on the autistic spectrum, and further that he has impulse control issues.
Where will we find Michael?
Chances are he's at his workstation.
Jane Champion offers to take us to where they assemble these plastic parts.
That's Michael, right over there.
Michael clearly matches the description provided by witness Tony Patterson. And that's not all.
The shoes. Check out his shoes.
We realized that his shoes had blood all over them. And bingo, we knew we had our suspect.
Do we interview him?
You can try, but he does have a great deal of difficulty communicating.
Michael had what was then called central speech disorder, now referred to as ataxia. Ataxia involves difficulty in forming words and being able to speak them clearly.
Hi, Michael. Do you know Rowan? Did something happen today?
He sits back down in his chair and continues to assemble his products. He's decided not to offer his attention. It's a very, very difficult situation.
Okay, what now?
I'm not sure. I mean, the blood gives us probable cause for arrest, but after that, I don't know.
Mr. Zarlinga represents an insurmountable challenge. There is nowhere to go. He has to be confined because he is dangerous. He's certainly proven that.
Michael, can you come with us?
As police take Michael into custody, they receive word that victim Rowan Monteith has succumbed to his injuries.
Charges of murder were filed against Michael, and we have psychiatrists examine him and get an expert opinion from him as to whether or not he can understand what the proceedings are against him.
While Michael is sent to the Colorado State Mental Hospital for further evaluation, Kenda and Moore turn to his mother, Barbara Zarlinga, for more insight on Michael's behavior.
I feel horrible about what happened to Rowan. Michael liked Rowan. They got along. Because of my son's condition, he's always had a problem with aggression.
Michael's problems with impulse control resulted in him being unable to tolerate very little displeasure. When displeased, he would often display it in a violent manner.
When he was younger, he was on medication that helped him. Then the doctors decided the medication wasn't such a good idea.
Over the years, they believed the long-term use of that drug would be fatal, so they started reducing the dosage. And as they did so, the aggression returned.
There were lots of little things where he'd get angry and start throwing things. What really scared me was what happened with his caretaker over at his group home.
One day, Michael was packing his lunch in the apartment, and Michael was taking what she thought was an overwhelming amount of grapes, putting in his lunch bag.
Oh, Michael, come on, let's save some grapes for everybody else.
Well, that really upset Michael, to the point where he actually threw her across the room and started kicking her.
After that, I begged the doctors to put him back on the same medication, but they still insisted it was too dangerous.
This has got to be frustrating to Barbara. She probably had that horrible feeling that, we're walking on thin ice here. How long is this going to go on before something bad happens?
Well, we're just trying to learn exactly what happened in the bathroom that day.
I understand. Rowan's family deserves to know.
Mrs. Zarlinga, is he able to communicate with us?
Well, yes, but with people he doesn't know, he climbs up. You just need the right person to ask the questions.
Now, I'm not going to ask his own mother to try getting him to confess to a murder to us. I am cruel, but I'm not that cruel. So who else would he talk to?
There's a woman named Liz Miller, who was his primary supervisor at Pioneer Enterprises. He was close with her. He might talk to her.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mary.
Several days later, Kenda arranges an interview between Michael and his former supervisor, Liz Miller.
We told Liz Miller, let's at least get a statement out of him as to what happened in that men's room, because otherwise we'll never know.
Hi, Michael. How are you? Michael, can you tell me what happened in the bathroom the other day with Rowan?
Yes. Rowan. Bathroom.
Michael's central speech disorder made every word difficult unless he was very familiar with the words.
Did Rowan do something to hurt your feelings in the bathroom that day?
Yeah. She asked him, were you mad at Rowan? And ultimately the answer was yes, but I don't know why.
Did you kick Rowan? How many times did you kick Rowan?
Michael was probably making his best guess. Michael wasn't very good at counting, and he also wasn't very good at remembering.
Liz, I think we can wrap this up.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna learn much more. Michael, thank you for telling the truth.
Kenda may not have a detailed confession, but he has enough to work with.
Do I actually know what happened to that man, Joe? I do not. What I suspect happened is this. Rowan Monteith takes medication to help him with his Down syndrome. He makes him somewhat lethargic. Michael wants to wash his hands. And who is in the way but Rowan Monteith?
Rowan learned his self-care skills very well. He would not hurry through the process of his personal hygiene routine.
Michael becomes impatient. Get out of my way. I have to wash my hands.
I'll go. Rowan probably indicated that Michael needed to wait. But waiting was not something that Michael did very well at all.
And that triggers him. He proceeds to kick him in the head with vicious kicks, causing contusion of the spinal cord, causing brain death. He kills his friend over impatience at using the sink. Excuse me? But that's what happened.
After extensive testing, Michael Zerlinga is ruled incompetent to stand trial.
The charge of second-degree murder was dropped against Mr. Zerlinga, and he was removed from the state hospital by his family and placed in a private facility that dealt with multiple disorders, including aggression issues.
It remains unclear if Michael was aware of the harm he was causing Rowan, but his new home helps to ensure that he won't be hurting anyone else.
I hope that our system has learned some lessons since that time. There are always going to be folks who need some help in the form of medication or supervision.
This case, in many ways, is an illustration of how cruel this world can be. Is there justice? No. No, there isn't. Not for anyone. Not for Mr. Zerlinga, and certainly not for Mr. Monteith.
Two best friends are gunned down, but footage from the aftermath poses more questions than answers.
It's clear to us that this happened somewhere else.
I want to hit my head against the wall. Now we're back to square one again.
Tonight, two young men are in critical condition after a double shooting.
To solve the case, Lieutenant Joe Kenda reaches out to an old friend for help.
It gets no better than this. You've got a hot tip, and it's an ongoing situation.
As investigators inch closer to the truth, a sinister plot emerges.
He believes it was the same vehicle he saw on television.
Now I think we're going to get somewhere. All choices come with consequences. Some are unintended. And some of those choices put you in harm's way. There's one thing that never changes. Murder. A life has been taken. Their stories are now my stories. I never know where a case is going to lead, but I'll never stop until it's solved. Somebody has to look out for the victim. If you kill, I will find you.
It's Saturday night, and Officer Dennis Jewell is patrolling the east side of the city.
That particular day, I did have a civilian ride along with me. That ride-along person happened to be my sister-in-law, Debbie, who wanted to know what my job entailed.
Dispatch to car 44. We have a report of an intoxicated individual requiring medical assistance.
That night we were out driving down the road and he got a call.
Car 44, 10-4.
Drunk person?
Yeah, this could get interesting.
Car 44, be advised, this is now a shooting. They are reporting shots fired.
And while en route,
I was notified via dispatch that it looked like this was coming in as a shooting.
Did they just say a shooting?
Yeah. Hold on.
This was really, really exciting because I had never been somewhere where someone had gotten shot before.
Listen to me, Debbie. No matter what happens, I need to stay in the car.
And I said I will definitely stay in the car. I do not want to die tonight.
An ambulance has beaten them there. And so they see one victim on the ground being treated, and then they realize that there is another person inside with paramedics attending to him also.
Stay with me. Come on. Hey, buddy. Stay with me. Come on.
Hey, he looks bad.
Can I get an escort to the hospital?
You got it, follow me. Based on what I was seeing, there was a good chance that this individual wasn't going to survive this.
But I was hoping he wasn't going to die. No one deserves that.
Oh, hey, Joe. Will you come in here and fasten me up?
Sure. The kind of occupations that my wife and I had, she's a nurse, I'm a policeman, resulted in little or no social engagements. And at this particular moment, Kathy's pleased at the idea of going out.
You look great.
Thank you. You don't look so bad yourself. We really need to get going. Mike and Sandy are already there.
You where the keys are?
Yeah, they're over there on the...
And of course, the phone rings. And we are going out, but not together because I'm going to work.
It's kinda. All right, I'll be right there. Bye. Sorry, Kath. Rain check?
Well, you can keep a rain check, but I'm not missing out on my night.
Give Mike and Sandy my best.
I will. Hey, be careful.
This crime scene is a convenience store parking lot attached to a gas station on Galley Road.
That convenience store was an absolutely notorious area of town. Such high traffic for problems.
When I arrive at the crime scene, patrol officers are already present.
Evening, Lieutenant.
So what we got?
2 male victims, multiple gunshot wounds. 24-year-old Lance Strickland and 20-year-old Walter Wright. Strickland was transported to St. Francis and Wright to Memorial Hospital.
It is a common practice in medical transport to not bring multiple trauma patients into a hospital. They generally only have one trauma room and one trauma team available.
Any witnesses?
Store clerk. One of the victims was found inside and being held for question.
Okay, the store sounds like a good place to start.
Detective Ritz is inside.
Thanks.
Our purpose at this point is to determine what we can from the physical evidence. In the store, where one of the victims collapsed at the front counter when asking for help from the clerk.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Lieutenant. Appreciate you getting here so quick.
You know whose blood this is?
We do. Lance Strickland. I think he probably went down right here. Probably brings the display down trying to stay upright. But he wasn't shot inside.
There's blood smearing on the floor and blood pooling on the floor. You have blood moving in one direction, which is inside the building. Lance Strickland walked into the store and collapsed. The evidence supports that.
You follow the blood trail, it actually goes out to the parked car outside.
Yeah, I was probably looking for help when he collapsed.
Yeah, that's right. I've got something else for you, though. Follow me.
Now, the vehicle's the entire crime scene that we have. Initially, what we see is the vehicles pulled into the parking lot, kind of parked haphazardly.
you know whose vehicle this is?
Yes, sir. Red tags. The car comes back registered with one of your victims, Lance Strickland.
Look at the glass on the seat. There's blood on the steering wheel.
Yeah, there's blood back here, too.
So both victims were shot in the vehicle.
The driver's door window has been shattered by gunfire, thought to be .380 caliber. It's possible from looking at this that the shooter was outside the car and shooting into the car.
Tiny shell casings?
No, sir, I didn't. Other officers found these 2 wallets on the fumes room.
Oh, yeah?
While there was identification in the wallets, there was no money or any other items. This could have been very simple, a robbery that went wrong, where maybe our victims fought back and got shot, or it could be somebody was actually trying to eliminate these 2 individuals.
From the position of the wallets on the floor and the position of the blood, if Lance is the driver and Walter is the rear seat passenger. So if there's 2 individuals in this car, why is one of them in the back seat? There's probably a 3rd person we are currently missing.
Let's see if the clerk can clear this up for us.
Where's Martin? He's right over there.
Thanks. George?
Yes.
Lieutenant Kennedy, this is Detective Vince. I know it's been a difficult night for you, so we'll try to make this quick.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I've seen a lot of sketchy stuff, but I ain't never seen anything like that before.
What do you mean?
He reports that he was working there alone. He had some inventory issues and he was in the back.
What the hell?
When he came back toward his counter position, he sees a young man staggering in the front door.
We get a lot of drunks and they cause problems outside. So I just went ahead and called 911. Yeah, I'm at the market on Valley. I got a drunk guy staggering. Oh, he's trying to get in.
Help!
Hey, man, you can't be in here. He's trying to come into the store right now.
Oh, please.
Hey, you need to leave, man. I think he's been shot. He's bleeding. Are you okay? Hold on. What the hell?
He looks out the front window and he sees a second individual who had collapsed out of the car and was trying to crawl toward the store.
Did you see anybody else or anybody with a gun or anything like that?
No, it was just his friend laying on the ground. There was so much blood, though.
But you didn't hear any gunshots?
No, I didn't. I had the radio going pretty loud in the back.
He was very open and forthwith with us, so it's like we have no reason to doubt him.
Well, thanks for your help. Do you have any working security cameras in the store?
Actually, yeah. I got one that has a view of the whole area. I can get you a tape if you'd like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We are thrilled about surveillance cameras because it might contain suspect information. We don't know. We're very anxious to find out.
So the call came in at 7:15. She was 115 minutes prior to that.
We're hoping to see the actual shooting. We're hoping to see something that will lead us to the identity of the person who shot these 2 individuals.
We see a vacant lot in the first few frames of the video. And then we see our victim vehicle come driving in at a high rate of speed, slamming to a stop. We see Lance get out of the driver's side, bleeding profusely.
Looks like we don't have a crime scene to find.
Looks like.
Viewing that tape establishes that this crime did not occur in this parking lot. It happened somewhere else. I want to hit my head against the wall because what we thought might be really useful turns out to be useless. Now we're back to square one again. We're investigating the double shooting of Lance Strickland and Walter Wright. Both are in critical condition. And we have a surveillance tape we thought might show who's responsible for this crime, but it clearly showed that this did not occur in front of the store. We need to find the original crime scene, which we have not yet discovered.
Let's play the tape one more time.
I'll see if I can slow it down. Might help.
Whenever you watch a surveillance tape, you're going to go back and try to concentrate on little particular parts of it.
You pause right there?
Yeah.
So that's our man Lance in the driver's seat getting out.
Yeah. He's definitely got blood on his lower back, too.
No wonder the store clerk thought he was drunk.
Yep. The gunshot wound in the lower body is extremely painful, so he would certainly consider someone staggering as a result of the pain.
Can we pause it on the car?
Yeah, let me try another angle first.
While looking at the video, there's nobody in the front passenger seat. That could tell us that somebody else was in the car, possibly a shooter. Could there have been others?
So what do you say we split up?
You want to go to Memorial? I'll go to St. Francis.
Sounds good. I'll be over there afterwards. All right.
We're hopeful that the victims can answer these questions, but we're also concerned they may not be able to ever answer anything.
Hey, how you doing? I looked for a gunshot wound victim came in last night. Lance Strickland.
Yeah, I helped admit him last night. The doctor said he's got pretty extensive internal damages. He's in surgery now.
They said that Lance has a gunshot wound to the lower left back. It penetrated and severed part of his colon and opened his lower intestine.
Did you see anything before he went to surgery?
He was in and out of consciousness. He couldn't even remember where he was.
He's in some level of shock from the injury, so he went from coherent speech to incoherent speech.
Has any family shown up?
No, he wanted us to get a hold of his friend Randy Robbins, but we don't have his information.
All right, we'll check on that. We'll come check on Lance later. Thanks for your help.
Yeah.
Kenda heads to St. Francis in hopes that Walter Wright is in better shape to talk.
Hey, Brian. Any luck?
Well, Walter was in surgery when I got here, but his doctors seem pretty hopeful.
He has 2 separate gunshot wounds, one in the shoulder and one under the right armpit. Both bullets actually missed any vital organs.
That's good news. Yeah. The responding officer is waiting to talk to us, but right before you arrived, Walter's girlfriend showed up.
Oh, yeah? What'd she have to say?
I haven't talked to her yet. I was waiting on you. She's in the hallway just down here.
All right. Miss Logan?
Officers, please tell me you're here about Walter. The doctors won't let me see him.
I said Walter is in surgery, but one of the treating doctors is pretty optimistic that this kid's going to be fine.
Thank you. That's such good news. I haven't stopped shaking since I heard.
I know it's difficult, but we need your help. What can you tell us about Walter?
Well, he looks out for me. He's a hard worker. He's always picking up extra hours.
What does he do?
He's a roofer.
She says that Walter works for a local roofing company, and that's where he met Lance Strickland.
And it expanded where there's been a lot of time after hours together. All she knew is that Lance and Walter had planned to hang out all day.
When I didn't hear from Walter, I thought something terrible had happened. It's just not like him.
Can you think of anyone in their lives that might want to harm them?
No. Absolutely not. Everyone likes them. They're friends with everybody.
Well, thank you for your time. We'll notify you if we need anything.
Thank you.
What do you think?
I think we can talk to this Walter guy.
While they wait for Walter to get out of surgery, they hope the responding officer, Dennis Jewell, might be able to give them some insight.
Officer Jewell, it's good to see you. Thanks for sticking around.
Oh, glad to help.
So Walter was able to give you a statement?
Yes, sir. I had him talking right up until they took him back for surgery.
And when I initially got into the emergency room, I tried to get in to get information from him because I don't know if this is the last thing this guy's ever going to say.
Walter explained that he and Lance had been out driving around that evening, trying to figure out what they were going to do.
And they decided to give a friend of a friend a ride.
He described him as a young black male, short hair, tall, slender build.
He was able to tell me that at some point, the person that was riding with them told him to stop the car. The person that pulled the gun said, "Give me all your money." And at that point, started shooting.
Shoots them both. He gets out of the car and runs off into the night. So now we have a story.
Did he say anything else?
I know he's in a lot of pain, but it felt to me like he was holding back.
Yeah, his story doesn't gel with the evidence.
If physical evidence says the shots were fired from outside the car, not inside the car. So Walter either is mistaken or he's lying about what happened in this event.
Did you say what happened by chance?
Not entirely, but I might have gotten a partial street name. Well, I was obtaining information. I was able to give you a partial street sign spelling of VAB.
VAB. Well, thank you.
I'm not confident that Walter's memory is either reliable or truthful, but a lead is a lead, so we will take what we can get for the moment. When you consider the facts and the condition of these victims, it's fairly obvious that this crime scene is probably not very far away. If it was, they'd already be dead.
Let me know if there's anything else I can help with.
Great, thank you.
Hey. Alright, so the convenience store is right here.
There's no way they could have gotten very far.
Yeah. We make the assumption, upon reviewing a city map, that it has to be very close to that convenience store.
Here we go. VAB, Babcock Road.
That's gotta be it.
There we go. About 2.5 blocks from the convenience store.
Kenda sends a small team of officers to canvass Babcock Road.
From what we know, our suspect apparently had to shoot him here and then leave. We want to know if he left anything behind that might identify him.
We're looking for physical evidence, automotive glass, maybe blood, maybe extended casings from a handgun. More importantly, it can possibly produce a witness to the event.
Anything?
No, nothing yet. The few people we did talk to were too far out of range to have seen anything.
Yeah, no surprises there.
Thanks.
There are very few houses on this street, and there's very little possibility for an eyewitness.
Hey, detectives. I think I've got something. Looks like came from 380.
Yeah, I got broken glass over here too.
Looks like we found our crime scene.
Even though we found where the shooting took place, we're not getting anywhere with crime scene evidence, and we're not getting anywhere with witnesses because we can't produce any. I decided to use a tried and true tactic to gain new information.
That's a good idea. 4-1 to dispatch. I need to pass me through to KKTV. We need to get Ann Irvin to the market on Gailey right away.
Tonight, 2 young men are in critical condition after a double shooting, and the police are looking to the public for help.
I mean, it gets no better than this. You've got a hot tip. It's going on right now, and it comes from the best source you can get, which is the police. And it's an ongoing situation.
The victims then drove themselves right here to this store, looking for help. The police have released photos of the victim's vehicle and are looking for anyone with information relating to the shooting to call CSPD immediately. I'm Ann Irvin, KKTV News. Okay, cut. Great. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
The next day, our little news stunt actually paid off.
It's Kevin.
My name is John Waters.
Yes. John Waters says that he thinks the police should talk to his nephew because his nephew was with Lance and Walter on the evening of the shooting.
Oh, really?
I think he's involved in this.
All right, thanks for calling. We'll be there shortly.
Does his nephew carry a gun, or is he yet someone else we don't know about? We're investigating the double shooting of Lance Strickland, 24 years of age, and Walter Wright, 20 years of age. The local news does a story on the shooting, and we get one informant who calls in and says he knows both of these victims.
Mr. Waters? Come on in.
We go see Mr. John Waters, the person who called in, and it turns out that he is a very pleasant man, middle-aged guy.
We really appreciate the call.
Well, I was just watching the news. And when I saw Lance's car with that busted window, it got me kind of spooked.
Is Lance a friend of yours?
Yeah, he and Walter were my roofing buddies. We worked together downtown. They were just here the other day.
Mr. Waters reports that Lance and Walter stopped by and had a few beers with him and his nephew, who he identifies as Ken Eatman.
All I know is that Lance, Walter, and Ken left together and rode off somewhere.
We suspected that there was a third person in the car. Mr. Waters says there absolutely was, and he was Ken Eatman.
So we're kind of wondering, is Ken our suspect? Is he our shooter?
Do you know where we can find Ken?
Yeah, he's back there in his room. I told him I was calling you guys. Hey, Ken, get out here for a minute.
Perfect. Go wake up your nephew and tell him you want to talk to him.
Are Lance and Walt okay? Ken, why don't you have a seat?
Ken looks like he's sweating bullets. He has the look of someone who's got something to hide. And we like that.
Would you excuse us for a moment?
Oh, of course.
Thank you. We need you to tell us everything that happened yesterday.
Okay, yesterday. It's not really too much to tell. We were out back and we had a couple beers.
Anybody want another round?
I'll take one.
Gotcha.
Hey, Ken. You think you can help us score some weed?
Some weed? Yeah, I should be able to help you out. How much?
I don't know, man. Just enough to get us all getting high.
All right. I got you.
Ken then says he agreed to help them out.
I had them drop me off at the Senator Mall just to make a phone call to one of my friends.
He would then make a deal, and then the guys would come back and get him. They would go over to some other location where they would complete the deal and be done.
Problem is, I couldn't get a hold of my dealer. So I'm sitting there waiting for them to pick me back up, and they never showed.
So where'd you go after that?
I waited till about 7. After that, I just said forget it, and I just walked home. Now that's a long walk. I was pissed at them until I found out what happened.
Ken is lying through his teeth, which is normal. He's trying to distance himself from the event by saying he never made anything happen. Well, let's leave him be for a minute, and let's go see what else we can learn from someone else.
Sounds like a little bit of me.
Just makes you wonder who else they ran into that night.
Exactly.
What if Walter and Lance find some 18-year-old kid somewhere along the way who tells them he can provide them with drugs, and he directs them to this out-of-the-way place where he robs and shoots both of them? Well, that could work.
We really don't know a whole lot about our victims, whether they have these contacts. So we've got to find somebody who knows something about the victims that can tell us something.
We know at least one individual associated with Lance by the name of Randy Robbins. We determine where he lives and try to make contact. He's not home, but his wife Laura agrees to talk to us.
Rand and I were planning on heading to the hospital for a visit after he finishes his shift.
Well, that's why we're here. You see, Lance listed Randy as his emergency contact. Any idea why he might do that?
Oh yeah, we all go way back.
Her husband met Lance in California, and they were good enough friends that he asked if he could come stay with them. He's been living with them for several months. He'd been very well behaved. He found a job. He was a good employee, and she liked him.
Listen, Laura, I hate to ask you this, but do you know if Lance was involved in any sort of drugs?
Lance? No. Lance doesn't mess with drugs. But his friend Walter is a different story.
What do you mean?
Laura Robbins says that she doesn't particularly like Walter and thinks that he may dabble in drugs. And she didn't like it. And she didn't like it when Lance brought him around where they live.
Have you ever seen him using?
No, but he knows how I feel about that stuff. I just have a suspicion.
Well, that's interesting. So we have one novice in Lance and maybe one that isn't in Walter. What we don't yet know with any certainty, what happened on Babcock and who's responsible for it.
Go back and talk to more of the neighbors? I'm not sure. At this rate, we'll be at it forever.
Detective, sorry to interrupt. We got a guy who just walked in, says he might have seen your suspects right before the shooting.
Did you say suspects? Have you seen more than one?
Yes, sir. Do we have 2 shooters? We have a guy that says he knows. Now I think we're going to get somewhere. We're investigating the attempted murder of Lance and Walter, and we now have a witness come forward who says he has seen the 2 suspects involved in this case.
Robert, I hear you may have some information for us.
I sure do. Nothing gets past me. You see, I lived here a long time, and I absolutely have no tolerance for this criminality.
So what's this?
It's my neighborhood watch notes. I'm the president.
And he further says he's so concerned about the activities of some of the people who live in this neighborhood that he has formed an unofficial neighborhood watch group.
Nosy neighbors are a mixed blessing. They can be a pain in the neck because they're nosy, but they can be really helpful to investigators because of that.
I'll tell you what, why don't you start by taking us through your notes from the other night?
Of course. It was 7 p.m. on the nose. See, I have it written down right here. That's why I know. Right? And I heard someone outside my driveway.
So he took a flashlight out to check and make sure his truck was okay.
And when he went to look outside, he observed a black male going over towards a vehicle that was parked across the street. And that this black male got in the vehicle.
I seen the same car on the news story. You know, the one about the shooting later on that night?
Which would be the car driven by the victim, Lance.
Now, I'm sitting outside in my driveway. All of a sudden, I saw something that really just didn't sit right with me.
Can I see notes on that?
Oh, of course. Look right down there on that line right there.
He sees the vehicle start to leave, and then he sees something that bothers him. He sees another vehicle come out of the side road and start to follow the first vehicle. It was kind of a older aged Cadillac, and saw the driver as being a very stocky black male with a baseball cap.
The stocky black male with a baseball hat is a new player. I hadn't heard anything about him.
Both cars drove away at 7:05. And the news said the call came around 7:15. Now, come on.
Wow, you really were paying attention.
The president.
It's a common procedure when you do a drug rip. You got one guy with your victims, and the Cadillac is his getaway car. He is part of this crime. So what Robert says makes perfect sense to me. So he put out that information, an all points bullet, and now it's time to talk to those victims and get to the bottom of this.
Remarkably, both Lance Strickland and Walter Wright are expected to make full recoveries.
Hey, Walter. Glad to see you doing well.
Hey, how's Lance doing? Is he gonna be okay?
Yeah, he's gonna make it.
Man, that's great.
It's an unusual thing to have good news to tell somebody, and Walter seemed very relieved by that.
Walter explains that he and Lance go to John's place because Lance really looks up to John as a mentor.
When we got there, his nephew Ken was there, and I'd only met him a handful of times, but I knew he liked to party.
And it gives Walter an idea. He and Lance like to occasionally smoke marijuana. They asked Ken if he had a hookup, and Ken agreed to help him.
According to Walter, they drove over to Sunny Circle, but Ken insisted he go in to see his dealer alone.
He was so adamant about us not knowing where his friend lived, so we just kind of sat there.
20 minutes turned into 30 minutes. 30 minutes turned into 40 minutes. And Ken didn't come back.
What's taking him so long?
Maybe we should get going.
No, let's give him a few more minutes.
It takes less than 5 minutes when it comes to arranging the purchase of drugs. For this to be this extended period of time, something's very wrong.
I don't know, man. I don't have a good feeling about this.
Hey, look, here he is now.
What's up?
Hey, we've been sitting here for 45 minutes.
Maybe they can been no 45 minutes. My man is on his way. Give him 1 second.
There he is.
Here you go, right here.
What's up, bro?
Moments later, a young male jumps in the right front passenger seat of Lance's car and introduces himself as Rock.
Can you tell us what this rock guy looks like?
He's a tall, skinny black kid with short hair. He's all business, very serious.
So it seems that Mr. Rock is our Mr. X.
Rock Rock explains he needs them to drive to another location so they can get the stuff.
Is that car following us? Oh, no, you good, man. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm serious. Look, it's been behind us for the last few miles.
Rock directed them for just a few minutes, and then Lance notices that he thinks there's a car following him.
Hey, man, quit bugging. I said it's cool. Relax.
Make that left. Walter says they turned on the Babcock, a very dark, vacant kind of area, and he's getting really nervous, and he asks, "Where are you taking us?"
At that point, things just became a blur to him.
Rock guy took out a gun. I handed him my wallet, and then everything went white. Next thing I knew is I woke up here.
Do you have any memory of where Ken went after the gun went off?
He set us up to get jacked.
Walter says that he assumes that Ken probably left with Rock at the time this happened. Well, that's entirely possible, and probably likely given the circumstances.
You did good, Walter. We're gonna let you rest.
Hey, if you see Lance, tell him I say hey.
Will do.
We now know that Ken is at this crime scene and is a participant in this robbery. We're going to use that to put pressure on Ken so he gives us Rock. So we go back to John Waters' house looking for Ken.
Please open up!
Oh, hey.
Hands up.
Hey, I was just calling you guys. I can't live with this no more. I can't. I'll talk.
Well, Ken, we were just about to call you because you're not going to live with us anymore either. You're going to live in the penitentiary where you belong. We've been investigating the attempted murder of Walter Wright and Lance Strickland. We have been spinning our wheels trying to unwind this web of lies about what happened.
I'll talk.
We placed Ken Eaton under arrest, and he says he's willing to give up the rest of the story.
Have a seat. Okay.
You read his rights?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Ken, with these rights in mind, you want to talk to us?
Yeah, man. I want to talk.
We want the truth this time. No more lies.
I was telling the truth about the whole going to go get weed thing, though. That's all we was doing.
Ken couldn't find anybody that had any stock in supply, but finally somebody suggested that he call this kid known on the street as Rock.
Yeah, look, I got 2 dudes here trying to get some weed. Can you help me out?
Yeah. How much money do they have?
At least about 100. And they just got paid. In cash.
Maybe we can take it from him then.
Okay. I didn't think that he was serious, though. You gotta understand.
We believe that Lance, Walter, and Ken all drove over to Sunny Circle.
Ken got out of the car and made contact with Rock at his house.
All right, man, so how you want to do this?
My homie Bolo got this car we can use.
Yeah. Call him right quick. Make sure we good.
Rock called one of his friends who goes by the street name of Bolo, a muscular guy with an old beat-up Cadillac, and asked him to come help commit a robbery.
It just took Bolo forever to get there.
Once Bolo arrived, Rock and Ken kind of set their plan in motion.
All right, I'll follow you too. Once you get the money, we'll bounce in my car. Sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
Whoa. What are you doing? You gotta use it?
Nah, man. This is for show. Come on. Come on, man. Why are you looking like that? Come on. Let's do it.
At first, the plan seemed to be working, but all of a sudden, Lance became concerned.
Is that car following us?
Oh, no, you good, man. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm serious. Look, it's been behind us for the last few miles.
Hey, man, quit bugging. I said it's cool. Relax.
And Rock then made the decision that it's now or never.
Yo, make that left.
Ken, I don't know about this. Yo, Ken, shut your boy up, man. Shut him up. Look, I know that guy. Pull over there. Do you want the weed or not, man?
Rock opened the passenger door as if he was going to get out and go speak to his friend, but then pulled a gun and leaned back inside the car.
Give me all your money, bitch. Give me all your money. Take it easy, please. Give me your money. You want the guns? Don't shoot. Hurry up.
Walter and Lance both pulled out their wallets and pleaded with him to just take the money and run.
Just give him the money. Just take it.
Shut up, boy. All right, you got the money. Now that you want it, now go. Shut up, bitch.
Instead of running, Rock decided to start shooting. The first two bullets hit Walter, one in the shoulder and one under his right armpit. Lance tried to get out of the car, and as he tried to exit the car, was shot in the lower left back. Ken and Rock got into Bolo's car, and all three took off.
Yeah, you want to try with me?
As Lance gets back in the car and closes the door, Rock took two more shots, shattering the driver's door glass window and lodging in the passenger door and in the seat. He's obviously a horrible shot, and ultimately that saved Walter and Lance's lives. Then Lance drove he and his friend to the nearby convenience store to get help before he passed out from the blood loss.
Where'd you guys go?
We went down to Pebble, and then he just vanished out of nowhere. Me and Rock went back to the Springs in the morning.
All right, Ken. So where's the gun?
I don't know exactly where he tossed it, but I can help you find it, Rock.
You get an arrest warrant listing the suspect as also known as Rock, as his true name isn't known.
Police, open up!
Yes? Is everything all right?
Man, we're looking for someone by the name of Rock. We have a search warrant.
Well, that's my grandson. He's in his room.
He stepped aside.
She says his birth name is Humphrey Williams, and he's asleep in his room.
On your feet now! What? Now! Put your hands up. Walk toward me. You're under arrest for the attempted murders of Lance Strickland and Walter Wright. Yo, I want a lawyer. Cuff him. I want a lawyer now. Turn.
Change money back. When we're looking with an AKA warrant, we want to make sure we're talking about the same person. So we bring Ken to the scene.
Here they come. Yeah, that's him. You positive?
As we bring Humphrey Williams out of that house in handcuffs.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, good deal.
Ken positively identifies the individual we have in hand as Rock, as the person who shot both the victims in this case. With Humphrey Williams now in custody, the search is out for Pomo.
Man, I got nothing on me.
Police eventually spot him in his Cadillac and pull him over, and he is arrested. We learn his real name is Ronald Williams. So we wanted to speak to Lance to get a statement from him. We have one from Walter. We have one from Ken.
How you feeling? I'm getting through it. I'm looking forward to walking again and getting out of here. Yeah, I bet.
Can you give us your version of what happened that night?
Sure.
Lance confirmed what Walter said about the shooting, without a doubt. We have the people responsible under arrest.
We're just glad you made it out alive.
It's a pleasant experience to have a case where people survive. I wasn't accustomed to that.
Humphrey Williams pleads guilty to first-degree and second-degree assault. He is sentenced to 20 years.
Ken Eatman pleads guilty to conspiracy to commit aggravated robbery, and he's sent to the penitentiary for 4 years.
Ronald Williams, a.k.a. Bolo, was charged with criminal attempt murder. He received a 5-year probation sentence. The gun used in the shooting was never recovered.
It's certainly not common for someone to have a near-death experience and live to tell the tale. They were both fortunate to survive the worst choice they'd made in their lives. Hopefully that's enough to convince them to never do it again.